Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Silent Flautist tutorial series. I am Vivek, aka the Silent Flautist. In the previous video, we saw how bhava and rasa govern the structure and the feel of a raga, and we understood the definition of what a raga is. Now, in today's episode, let us explore how a raga is created, that is, the rules that govern a raga, and also some parts of how the raga is classified. Now, let's get to it. What are the rules that govern a raga? It is pretty commonsensical to get the first rule. The first rule is that the shadja or the sa can never be completely absent. Isn't that obvious? How can you have a scale where the base note, the note to which all the notes are relative to, is absent? So sa can never be absent. And this is the first rule. The second rule states that madhyam and pancham together both can never be absent in a raga. At least either the madhyam or the pancham has to be present. Let's try and analyze this. So we know that sa is the adhara swara or the base note, and pancham is the fifth note, which is the achala swara. We also know that madhyam also holds importance as it is the center of the saptak, that is, 3 notes are before it and 3 notes are after it. So madhyam and pancham are necessary, at least one of them, to give structure to the raga. There is one raga which is an exception to this, which is the Adbhut Kalyan. It's a beautiful raga, and I will cover it in a completely separate episode sometime later. There has to be at least 5 notes in the Aroha as well as Avaroha, along with the sa and the ma or pa. Any less than 5 notes and the raga is not considered to be a valid scale. But there are many exceptions to this though. 2 of the most incredible exceptions have been created in the most recent times of Indian music by Dr. M. Balamurali Krishna. The ragas are Lavangi and Mahati. Beautiful ragas. I am linking in the description renditions of both these ragas. I suggest you go and listen to them. So these are the 3 main rules that govern the structure and principles of how a raga is created. There are several more, and one of the major ones being the mood or the bhava that the raga produces, which we have discussed in the previous episode. If you haven't watched it yet, please go and watch it right here. Link is right here. Now let us go to how a raga is classified. We've already covered what Aroha and Avaroha is in a previous video. So in this video, we are going to see the other aspects. A raga generally has 2 notes which are kind of having a conversation with each other. The initiator of the conversation is called the Vaadi, and the respondent is called the Samvaadi. These 2 are the most important notes in a raga. The raga structure is made by these 2 notes. The notes will appear again and again, and there might even be pauses on the note to emphasize on its presence. Does it sound a bit too abstract? It kind of is, because music in itself is a language, and what we are learning right now is the grammar on how to write and read music. Let me give you an analogy to understand the concept of the Vaadi and Samvaadi. Probably then it would be easier. The Vaadi can be understood as the captain of the team of notes that comprise a raga, and the Samvaadi becomes the vice captain. So captain becomes the most important, and the vice captain becomes the second most important. But does that mean that is all that is there in a raga? No, right? So the other notes have to be used in the team in the correct manner in order to make the structure of the raga ready. and to present it in a beautiful way. Raga is almost all about teamwork of the notes. You can think it that way too. I hope this is an easier way to understand it. Now let us go to the next concept, which is Jaati. Now Jaati is nothing but the count of the notes in a raga. It is counted both in Aroha as well as Avaroha. If there are 5 notes in the Aroha, it is called Audav Jaati. If there are 6 notes, it's called Shadav Jaati. And if it is called 7 notes, anyone wants a guess? It is Sampoorna. All 7 notes present, it's a Sampoorna Jaati Raga. So, since there is Aroha and Avaroha in a raga, depending on how many notes are there in the Aroha and the Avaroha, the Jaati can be further divided into 9 ways. So if there are 5 notes in the Aroha and 5 notes in the Avaroha, it's called an Audav raga. If it has 5 notes in the Aroha, 6 in the Avaroha, it's called a Audav raga. If there is 5 notes in the Aroha, 7 in the Avaroha, it is called Audav Sampoorna raga. Similarly, we have Shadav Audav, Shadav, and Shadav Sampoorna. And with the Aroha having 7 notes, we have Sampoorna Audav, Sampoorna Shadav, and Sampoorna. So let's play a little game now. I'm presenting before you 3 ragas, and let's have you guess the Jaati. Let's go with the first one. This is Rag Bhoop. The Aroha and Avaroha is So what do you think is the Jaati of the Bhoop Raga? If you guessed Shadav, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You do not count the Sa twice. You count the Sa only once. Sa has to be counted once. Every note and every Vikrut Swar and Shuddha Swar will be counted only once. So, Sa Re Ga Pa Dha, 5 notes. And the Avaroha, Sa Da Pa Ga Re, again 5 notes. So this is an Audav raga. I hope you understand the concept a little better now. Let's go to the second example. This is the Aroha and Avaroha of the Shuddha Sarang Raga. What do you think is the Jaati? If you said it is Audav Shadav, you are absolutely correct. And let's go to the final example. This is the Aroha and Avaroha of the Ahir Bhairav Raga. Serene, isn't it? What do you think is the Jaati of the Ahir Bhairav? If you said Sampoorna, you are absolutely correct. I'm glad now you are getting the hang of the theory in these ragas. The next concept that I'll be going into is the concept of a Thaat or Thaat or Mael or Melakarta. All these four names point to the same thing. I'm going to be calling it Thaat for now. What is a Thaat? A Thaat is a set of all 7 notes. It is not in Aroha-Avaroh, it is just a set of all 7 notes which has the capability of a raga being derived out of it. It is just a scale of 7 notes from which a raga can be derived out of, or something that can give birth to a raga. Hence, these are also called Janaka ragas. According to Venkatamakhin, a very senior musicologist, there are 72 Melakarta ragas, which is followed in the Carnatic system even today. But in the Hindustani system, there are just 10 Thaats. The 72 Thaats have been consolidated into a group of 10 Thaats. And the most popular ragas have been fit into these 10 categories. This modern 10 Thaat classification system is attributed to Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande, who was a senior musicologist from Maharashtra. Out of the very many contributions of his, including the script that we are using today, he also did this beautiful classification of these 10 Thaats. He was a very senior musicologist and a musician of the late 19th century and early 20th century. So what are the 10 Thaats? The first one is Bilawal, which has all the Shuddha Swara. There is no Vikrut Swar in the Bilawal Thaat. The second one is the Kalyan Thaat, which has all the Shuddha Swar except the Madhyam, which is Tivra Madhyam. The next one is the Marwa Thaat. The Marwa Thaat has the Rishabh Komal along with the Tivra Madhyam. Rest of the notes are Shuddha. The next one is Purvi Thaat. The Purvi Thaat has the Rishabh Komal, the Madhyam Tivra and the Dhevat at the Komal position. The next Thaat is the Todi Thaat, which has the Rishabh Komal, the Gandhar Komal, the Madhyam at Tivra position and Dhevat at Komal position. Nishad remains Shuddha. The next one is the Bhairav Thaat. In the Bhairav Thaat, the Rishabh and the Dhevat are in Komal position. Rest all the notes are in Shuddha position, including the Madhyam. The next one is Bhairavi Thaat. In the Bhairavi Thaat, all the notes are in Komal position and Madhyam is Shuddha. So Re, Ga, Dha and Ni are Komal. Madhyam is Shuddha. The next one is the Asavari Thaat. The Asavari Thaat has the Rishabh Shuddha, Gandhar, Dhevat and Nishad in the Komal positions and the Madhyam is also Shuddha. The next raga is the Kafi Raga, which has only the Gandhar and Nishad in Komal positions. Rest all the notes are Shuddha, including the Madhyam. And finally, the Khamaj Thaat, which has a Komal Nishad only. Rest all the notes, including the Madhyam, are Shuddha. So all the ragas that we know that are most popularly played today in the Hindustani style are classified into these 10 Thaats. The Carnatic system uses a list of 72 Melakarta ragas or Thaats, which I will cover in a separate video because I need to do justice to that beautiful system of 72 Thaats. The last and final concept of the classification of ragas that I'll be touching upon is the Raga Samay. The word Samay basically means time. So Raga Samay basically is the time for performing or playing the specific raga. Traditionally, Hindustani musicians sing ragas in a specific time because it is said to enhance the bhava that the raga is supposed to generate. For example, the raga that we saw earlier, this is the Ahir Bhairav raga. The Samay of this raga is supposed to be early morning. Whereas this piece of music this is Rag Darbari Kannada, which is supposed to be played at midnight. I will definitely touch upon all these concepts in a later video where I explain the entire time theory of Indian music and what kind of raga is played at what time. But for now, this understanding should be enough. That brings us to the end of the video. Let me summarize today's video for you. We started off with understanding the basic rules that govern a raga. The first rule was that the shadja or the sa can never be absent in a raga. The second one was ma and pa cannot both simultaneously be absent. There is one exception that I know of, which is the Adbhut Kalyana. The third rule is that you cannot have less than 5 notes in the Aroha as well as the Avaroha in a raga. I also explained the exceptions to this, the creations of Dr. M. Balamurali Krishna, which are Mahati and Lavangi. The links to these ragas are in the description. I suggest you go and have a listen when you can. Then we touched upon the classification of ragas. First, the most important is the Aroha and Avaroha, which I have already covered in a previous video. Aroha and Avaroha is the ascending and the descending of a raga scale. Then comes the Vaadi and the Samvaadi. I gave you an example of how Vaadi is the most important note and hence is like the captain of the team of notes. And Samvaadi is like the second most important note and hence is like the vice captain in the team of notes. But a raga can only function if all the notes along with the Vaadi and Samvaadi play together as a team. Then we looked upon the Jaati of a raga. Jaati basically means the number of notes that are there in a raga. There are 3 main Jatis, which is Audav for 5 notes, Shadav for 6 notes and Sampoorna for 7 notes. Based on the Aroha and Avaroha, there are 9 possible cases, which makes a beautiful 3x3 matrix like the one you can see right here. The next concept that we touched upon is the Thaat or Mael. The Mael or Thaat is basically a parent scale from which a raga can be derived. It is also called a Janaka raga. There are 10 such Thaats as per Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkande, and we have already seen the 10. The 10 are right here. You can have a look again. And finally, we understood the concept of Raga Samay, which is the time in which a rag is supposed to be played, which enhances the mood or the bhav that a rag is supposed to produce. So this is all that is there of how ragas are classified and the rules that govern a raga. If you're enjoying the content that I make and you're enjoying the process of learning, I suggest you support me on Patreon in the form of memberships. Members get exclusive benefits like the transcripts to these videos, finger positions, JPEGs, more notes, elaborate notations, and so much more. If not, you can consider making me a one-time contribution through any of these methods mentioned here. I am also there on PayPal, so please feel free to send money on PayPal too. If not, just like, comment on the video which I can reply to, share the video to someone who is learning the flute, and don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon. Every time you do so, it makes me extremely happy because you'll get a notification to learn something new every week. Thank you so much for watching the video till the very end. Thank you. The Silent Flautist signing off for now. See you again next week with another video.